So today is the 26th day of Kislev, the second day of Chanukah, and the 27th of December. What we saw yesterday is that Egypt represents a person in a state of having no understanding at all. All he has is his faith. And that is what the Tanya calls a Russia. He doesn't even have itkafia. He doesn't even have the ability to coerce himself, because you can't coerce yourself if your brain doesn't have anything in it. So what's he going to coerce himself with? The idea that the brain controls the heart is that if the brain wants something, if it has any kind of interest, it can pursue it. But this is a state of not even wanting not even having any kind of interest in God, because he doesn't know anything. And that's what it says, that you can't serve God if you have no brain power at all, no knowledge at all.
Of God. Yes.
Right. Of God, of course. And then the exodus from Egypt was to free them from this, and then they went into the wilderness. And the wilderness is a state of itkafia. That's we said. Itkafia. Itkafia means the coercion.
Coercion. Yeah.
And that's the Beinoni. And that's faith without reason. So he has faith, he has reason, but now he has some kind of basic understanding, let's call it. It's not that he hasn't expanded it yet entirely, but he has some knowledge of what he wants. He has some idea. And then when you come to the land of Israel, that's called the tzaddik. The tzaddik's already when he has a wide mind. Eretz tova u'chava, we said a wide land. And that means that already he has not just the ability to coerce himself, he has the ability to transform himself. And that was the basic parallel here, which he doesn't state, but it's very clear from the fact that he says that the wilderness, which is the middle state, is like the Beinoni. It's a state in which there's only coercion, and that's how the Beinoni of the Tanya is. That he's always coercing himself to follow God's word. Okay, so Vayitziah Mitzrayim. I hope I'm in the right place.
No coercion.
He doesn't need to coerce himself. He's working on himself through his understanding. So the understanding has itapcha in it. Say couched in the more general language of Chassidus. How did they say it without the Tanya? Without the Tanya, the formula was dinim mitmatkin b'shorshan, that the harsh judgments are sweetened in their source. Where's their source? Their source is in Bina. Bina is understanding. So the Tanya took this idea and he said, if you have a true understanding, it's bonus. If you have a true ability to contemplate something, then you can transform and change the harsh judgment from something bitter to something sweet. And that's itapcha. That is a transformation. That's and we said that's Chanukah. Chanukah is all about the pach shemen. Pach means to transform, to turn upside down. A pach nishbar. Yeah. Okay. So where were we? So here we were. So we have to get to Amalek now. Okay. Okay. So when they're in the state of the Beinoni, they're in the wilderness. Okay. You have it?
Is it after Yitzim time?
Here it's 9 lines down, 10 lines down. It starts all malchut. Okay.
With this trial,
V'zaya? Okay. Okay. So it's 1 line over. וזה הליכתם במדבר שקיבלו עליהם עול מלכות שמיים ועול מצוות. And this was the purpose of their journey in the wilderness. What did they receive there in the wilderness? The ability to coerce themselves. That was and so you could say that that the spies who didn't want to go into the land of Israel, what they didn't want to leave is the state of the Beinoni. They didn't want to become tzaddikim. So it's a very different take on the whole thing. It needs to be explored, but not right now. And now uveodam b'bchina zu. So here we have it here on the third. ובעודם בבחינה זו פגע בהם עמלק, ועניינו על דרך שאמור הזל עליו, יודע ריבונו ומכוון למרוד בו. ירצו בזה כי הוא הקליפה שכנגד הדעת דקדושה. And while they were still in the state, Amalek confronted them, he attacked them. Its essence is explained in the saying of our sages about him. He knows his master and intentionally rebels against him. So we need to understand this idea that Amalek represents knowing God, meaning it's not the state of the Rasha who doesn't know God at all. It's the state of the Beinoni who knows God, and he intentionally rebels against him. So the Amalek adds into the person that even though I know you, God, I intentionally am going to rebel against you. That's what Amalek adds into, that's the type of klipa it is. That's the type of impure husk it is. This means that Amalek represents the klipa, the spiritual impurity that opposes dat. Because now there's dat, there's already knowledge of God. You can't say that the Beinoni doesn't know Hashem, he knows.
He has dat.
He has dat, he already, right. So the dat is now being attacked. That's what Amalek does.
Dat is being attacked?
By Amalek, meaning the Beinoni has dat, he already has knowledge of God.
Oh, but
he's
dat
facing
against dat.
Right, and there's a different dat that's coming to attack him. Right. כי מודעת זאת מאמר הזל, אין אדם עובר עבירה אלא אם כן נכנס ברוח שטות. Usually, we know the well-known teaching from the sages that a person does not commit a transgression unless the spirit of folly enters them. So usually a person is not aware. A spirit of folly means that the truth of the greatness of the blessed Creator is concealed from their dat, meaning that the dat is not functioning. Something's covering it up. So at this moment, when he goes to sin, he somehow is oblivious to God. He doesn't see God. He doesn't recognize how great God is, as it's explained in chapter 24 in the Tanya. So, in such a state, ואז שולטים השבע מידות רעות המנגדים לשבע מידות הטובות הנולדים מהדעת. So in this state, what happens is because his holy dat, the dat of holiness that recognizes God, is not functioning, meaning he's oblivious to God, so what takes over his emotions is the impure version of the emotions. So all the seven emotive faculties can be either pure or impure. This is not the way it is in understanding and in wisdom. In the intellect, there's no counterpart. You can't say that there's an impure wisdom, an impure intellect, understanding. There's no counterpart to it. It's not that there's something... But in the realm of the emotions, the person has like two different personas, entirely different. One of them is born from holy dat. One of them is all the emotions are born from my recognition of God, God's greatness. And the other one is what's born when I don't have that recognition. I conceal. So we call them usually the animal soul and the divine soul. Right? That's what we call them. So if my animal soul is functioning, so why do I say there's no such thing in the intellect? We don't have time now to discuss it, but because in the intellect there was no shattering of the vessels. They didn't shatter completely. They were blemished. There's a blemish in the faculty of understanding. There's a blemish in the wisdom, but it's not a counterpart. It's not an anti-wisdom. It's not an anti-understanding. There's something wrong with it.
Tanya says that it's worse to have a blemish in the dark.
Right.
So on.
Yeah, so there he's talking about wisdom and understanding in chapter 8. But not about dat. And dat is related to the emotions. Dat is where the emotions come from. So the emotive faculties is really the persona of the person. His intellect is not necessarily his persona. Persona is more how the person carries himself, is more the rest of the body, everything else. There's a lot to discuss about what the difference between a blemish and a shattering is, but we don't have time now. But the point is that when your dad is not functioning properly, then you have this issue that you can sin. Now you can do something for your own amusement or your own cravings or whatever it is, because your dad is not functioning. So it says that's the way it is normally, that a person has holy dat, and it's covered up by something, by a spirit of folly. And then the animal soul can take over. That's the normal state of affairs. So that's the normal state of the Beinoni. The Beinoni is fighting against his spirit of folly. But that's not Amalek. Amalek is something completely different. What is Amalek? Not so with Amalek. לא כן עמלק, יודע ריבונו, שראה ידע ניסים דקריאת ים סוף ויציאת מצרים, ומלאו ליבו ללחום עם ישראל. So not so, Amalek is completely different. He knows his master, for he was aware of the miracles of the splitting of the sea and the exodus from Egypt. Yet he has the audacity to wage war against Israel. He has the audacity, even though the dot remains in its place, he's still fighting against it. It's something new. There's no spirit of folly covering the person's recognition of God. This is a different challenge the Beinoni is faced with. It's a completely different challenge. And this is called, what's called the chutzpah, the brazen insolence of a kingdom without a crown. Meaning he takes over the kingdom, but he has no crown. What do you mean that he has no crown? He has no. He's not coming and saying, I have a right to the kingdom. He has no lineage to show, nothing. The brazen insolence just takes over. He came out of nowhere. He's this revolutionary who has nothing there. He just suddenly attacked it out of nowhere. He's not claiming to the throne even. He doesn't say, I'm going to now rule the kingdom. Okay? This is opposed to the first situation. The first situation, we said that there's a spirit of folly. That's what the Tanya describes as there are two kings fighting for the same city. There's this king of holiness and the king of impurity. The spirit of folly is the king of impurity. That's the animal soul. And the divine soul he also has a crown. They both have crowns. Each one of them claims the entire city. When Amalek attacks, it's something completely different. He's not claiming the city. He doesn't want this. He doesn't know what to do with the city. If he would capture it, he wouldn't know what to do with it. He's not going to rule it. He's going to destroy it. The animal soul wants to survive. Amalek has no need to survive. It's not interested in surviving. That's why we say that the Palestinian Nazis are Amalek. Because they're not interested in ruling it. They're interested for everything to be destroyed. That's what they want. They want burnt... It's like there's absolutely no thought here about how I take over and how it'll be mine. I'll administer it. Because you see, wherever they take over, they destroy their own. They don't care at all. They're not interested in that. That's the thing people can't get through. That's why we recognize that they are the spirit of Amalek today.
Where would we put the Yavanim?
What? No, Yavanim are like the spirit of folly. They're in exile. All exiles are... Amalek is not in exile. Amalek is like a different thing. Exile means he wants to rule you. He says, I know what's better for you. If you act this way, like a liberal democracy, you'll be much better off. There's higayon in it. It's not. It even fits. As I said, there's no counterpart to the intellect. It's still the same intellect, even. And so it leaves you like in a state that you think that this is a viable alternative. And so a lot of Jews are captured in that. They think that this is good. Yeah, that's the darkness of exile. They think this is a good option. What's the problem? There's no problem with it. Amalek is something entirely different. He has no claims to the kingdom. He's not interested in the kingdom. If he captures it, he'll destroy it. Okay, so with this, Bezrat Hashem, we'll continue next week.
Because the honest,